Okay, Mark, we're ready to go for the show.
Great.
1 minute of silence and 1 second of silence. Welcome to Timelines of Success, episode 96. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thanks for inviting me on.
Well, this is all about your timeline, and you're Mark Jolly. And I want to talk first about what are you doing today, other than this interview, of course, but what is your business today? And we're going to talk about how you got there. It's a great story.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just a lowly carpet cleaner, honestly, just an entrepreneur.
Now, you bet how you got there and your background is pretty interesting. And you know what? It's a great business.
I appreciate that. Hopefully, it will be.
So I want you to tell me, first of all, there's more to you because I know that for many, many years you worked as an archaeologist.
That's right.
So we're going to talk about how you got from archaeologist into the carpet cleaning business. But before you're archaeologist, you've been in the business before that, right? So you've gone full circle and come back.
That's true. My father owns a very successful carpet cleaning business in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I grew up from an early age, slinging hose and carrying equipment up and down stairs and working with him whenever I had time off of school and every summer.
Very good. So you grew up in the industry and your dad's still in the business, right?
That's right. He and my brother both still run the business in Atlanta, Georgia. And honestly, I was never dreaming of becoming a carpet cleaner. In fact, I went to school so that I wouldn't have to be a carpet cleaner. But I ended up putting myself through school by working with Stanley Steamer because I
That's how
had
you started.
experience. Yeah.
Right. And where'd you go to school?
I went to school at University of West Florida in Pensacola, Florida. And the reason that I went there was because they had a maritime archaeology program.
Oh, nice, nice.
Mhm.
Maritime archaeology. And
Yeah.
of course, my son is pretty close to you down there and in that area. He's
Cool.
was a maritime civil engineer for his education.
That's right. You told me that. That's very cool. It
So
really is.
interesting stuff. It all fits. I love social science and what you've done in social science. So you went out, you got your degree,
Mhm.
and you stopped cleaning carpet, and you became a archaeologist, right?
Well, my wife got a job out here in Reno, Nevada, and she worked for the was it Fish and Wildlife Department for a while, and now she works for the Bureau of Reclamation as a budget analyst. And so we had to move for her job. Now I did not know that Nevada was basically the seat of CRM, that's Cultural Resource Management, for the entire country. So it's archaeologists for hire, and I worked for an archaeological firm here in town for about 8 years. Um, and yeah, I've seen it all.
So 8 years you worked. So did you love the work? What was work like? What kind of work did you do?
Well, I loved work, but I also it had its drawbacks. We'll just put it that way. It's a lot of time away from home. I was usually gone for 8 days, maybe back for six, maybe back out for 10, and that was all the time. There was never any time for really coming back and having downtime. So eventually, my wife was like, "You're married to your job and not to me, and you need to make a decision." So I did, and I decided that doing something that had low capital startup, something that I had experience doing and wasn't very hard to get licensed doing, might be the best avenue to pursue
So
going forward.
so you started your business about 4 months ago, right?
That's correct.
And you got your truck. You bought a used truck, beautiful set of equipment, and all
Yeah,
that
I
stuff.
think so.
What a
It's
hu-
all brand new too. Yeah,
what a huge transition. Now I want to tell the listener out there how we met. Last week at 1 million cups, it was 1 million cups, right?
that's correct.
I drug my wife out there, and you and my wife have a similar personality, which is unique. She's a real estate broker for 20 years, and you've been in this business of having to go out and get clients now.
Yeah,
And,
it's a
that,
big change.
and you know the business inside and out because you just cleaned my house yesterday.
Yes, I did.
And we're fairly been in Reno a couple of years,
Mhm.
but our old business is my wife's been in real estate been a broker for 20 years. And we had the same cleaners in Modesto, same cleaner, similar to you for 20 years because we wanted somebody who actually owns the business, goes out and works or has an assistant work. And you sort of fit that description. But secondly, you don't really like going out and meeting a lot of people, do you? It's the
No,
hard part.
no, I'm very much an introvert, and it's always been a very difficult thing for me. In fact, my last job, one of the best things about it was that I generally was out in the middle of the desert with nobody else around. So it really did fit my personality rather well. Now I need to be a little more personable and amiable, and I need to be able to talk to people and be a little more outgoing, which is
But you know what?
really difficult.
You're a really, really nice guy.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're a really nice guy. And I think I noticed in my wife coming from Modesto, where we had subdivisions and clients built over many years, she's having to go out and learn the art of meeting people. You know,
That's hard. Yeah.
and she's one of to me, she's the best agent ever, best broker ever, because she's got 20 years experience. She's handled hundreds of different kind of situations and contracts. Her friends were attorneys that she grew up with in Modesto, and she just knows her stuff. But it's still difficult to come to a new area, start a new business to get it going. So now you're having to work a lot of hours, aren't you?
Well, yeah, I'm having to do a lot of things that I never had to do before. Like, frankly, pushing a wand for cleaning carpets, that's not hard. Starting up a website and social media presence, going out and doing marketing and, all the licensing that you have to do to start up the business, not to mention the loans and the point of
Oh,
sale system, that's hard. And so that's what it really means to be an entrepreneur. And I was prepared for it, but I don't think I quite knew the depths of which I would have to be going into everything.
well said. Well said. So driving forward in your 4 or 5 months, I think you just talked about it. What? Wait, what was your toughest challenge so far?
Well, so far, my biggest hurdle is trying to just get my name out there. I am invisible, and the big dogs in the industry come up on Google searches and on Yelp on the first page, and I am buried if I'm even there.
Well, let me say, you're going to be on our referral page for my wife, KarenConrad.com, because she locks into somebody and sticks with them unless they mess
Great,
up. But you're going to do
no
good.
pressure. Yeah.
But because we want somebody like you who's actually going to be out on the job site. Now you can be out there with a helper, but we want the owner out there on the job site, making sure the client's taken care of.
No, it's very important to me, honestly, that everybody's happy. And I've seen the way some companies work. And I'm not going to name any names, but where they will hire whoever, and they may not do a background check, and they may not even see if the guy can actually clean a carpet. Now, you guys have Berber carpet. Berber's hard to clean. I've got a lot of years of experience, but even I was a little nervous when I saw it, and I came back today, and it looks great.
Looks really good. And we were a little worried about some of the spots that had a little bit of bleach out them, because this Berber is old, but
Mm.
they came out great and blended out. Whatever you did really blend out the carpet. It came out wonderful. And a little side note for out there, if you're going to have a rental, Berber carpet is good, though it does show the dirt, but it'll last a long, long time. So it's not bad putting Berber in rentals, but just be ready for the dirt. But that's
That's
going to
true.
last forever.
They're very expensive, but they
Yeah.
do last a very long
Yeah.
time.
Unlike traditional, it'll probably outlast a traditional carpet by three to one. Instead of 3 to 4 years with a rental, you might get 10 years out of Berber.
That's right.
So very good, but you do have to clean it often and definitely in between.
Well, that's something that a lot of people don't know, and that's that dirt can build up in your carpet, and it can start abrading the nylon, or what have you. Usually 90% of the time it's usually nylon that's used to make a carpet, and it starts abrading the fibers, and that's when it starts looking dirty, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's just wear and tear. So if you get it cleaned, if you get those fibers, or if you get the particulate out of the fibers, it will prolong the life of the carpet. So 2 times a year is probably a good rule of thumb.
So very good. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about your transition. I'm going to go back. I missed one point. I want to talk about you've got two beautiful girls and
Oh,
your wife, and they're like 2 and 6.
2 and 6. That's right.
So, and you just started this business. That's
Mhm.
probably one of the reasons why you want to be around home.
Actually, it's a huge reason why I want to be around home. When I was gone all the time, I would be out and exploring Nevada, finding some really great stuff. But when I would come home and pick up my daughter, my oldest, who's now 6, when she was around 1 or 2, she would cry because she wouldn't know who I was. I
Oh
was a
my.
stranger. Yeah, and whoa, that is heartbreaking.
That brings back a story. I remember my son, who's grown up now in the Coast Guard, but I was a pilot in special operations. When he was 1 month old, I deployed into the Bahamas for a few months. He came back when he was 4 months old. When I walked into our little apartment, he looked at me and started screaming. And I was in my flight uniform. I just walked in, started screaming, looked, and grabbed his mom. He
Yeah,
started
yeah.
screaming, and it took him like 2 days to not stop shaking when I touched him. That's I mean,
Well,
heartbreaking.
it's adventuresome work, and I'm sure you understand going interesting places and seeing interesting things. But honestly, I would look at my travel bag and be like, "That's home. My travel bag is home." And my family is. I'm just living out of some really crummy hotel, in the middle of
Yeah.
nowhere.
Well, I had an opportunity to go overseas. I had a good 5 years of active duty and some other works with the federal government. And I turned down the last tour
Mm,
because I'd been gone too long.
yeah.
And even though I love my mission, I love what I did. Family is important,
Yeah.
but you still have
Absolutely.
to make money so you can take care of your family.
Well, the way I put it to my oldest is that Daddy wants to make money so that we can have lots of adventures. So now every time she talks to me about it, it's like, oh, are we going to have money for adventures someday?
Yep.
Someday.
Yeah, you got it. It's a tight balance. I'll tell you what, girls are expensive, and we'll finish up with that. So Mark, the other thing too is when you came to me, we just launched New Media Gold. It's my new venture company, and I was hoping to maybe look at you as a client, but I looked at your website, and you don't really need anything more right now, because you've done a really good job developing your own website as
I
a
really appreciate
DIY
that.
on the side. You're not using my service, but down the road in a year or two, when you have the money coming in, we might want to take it to the next level where we're doing all the scheduling and everything's on your MacBook, not your MacBook Pro. You probably have an iPad and do everything that way. Right now, I know you use your phone, but you do. You don't think you are, but you're doing a great job grasping the technology of the iPhone and the website.
I
And
appreciate that. Honestly, SEO is one of the hardest things for me having to learn. And it's so,
Mhm.
just nebulous. You're not really sure where to grasp onto, who to go to, and where to put media. It's very difficult, especially for somebody who was never
Yeah.
trained in it.
Well, we've got a little course on SEO that I'm going to let you have to look at and study it, and I think it'll help you. But someday you'll be a gold member. But for now, you're doing great, and you really don't need it.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So good luck and drive hard. Yours is a good story. You don't always have to go into high tech business.
That's true.
You don't have to go that. What you're doing is a probably more potential to be successful than anything else. You've got a beautiful white truck. You bought it used, didn't you? Fix it up.
I did. I bought it used, and I made sure that it had met all the specs that were required. And then I put a brand new machine in it from Sapphire
Yep.
Mechanical, or I'm sorry, Sapphire Scientific is the name of the company.
Right.
It's a brand new rig, brand new everything, and I make sure that I use green chemicals for everything as well, which is very important to me. I spent a lot of time in the outdoors over the last 8 years, and I don't want to ruin it. So.
Yeah. My 14-year-old daughter said last night, "Oh, the house smells so nice."
Yeah, that's
That she
the
came
orange.
in.
I use an orange spotter deodorizer, and it works really good.
Yeah, it came in nice. And there's another reason too. The kind of chemicals you use. I'm not trying to do an info commercial, but I do believe in the environment and not destroying the environment like you do.
Mm.
And you can pour it into your lawn or grass, and it'll help your grass grow or your wherever it might be.
Well, it's not miracle, but it is green and it's FDA approved. And it's safe for kids, safe for animals, and safe for you. And I don't know.
That's important.
Yeah, it is important. Honestly, it really is.
Yeah, in my 30 some odd years in the military, some of the stuff we use pretty nasty, I think.
Yeah, in fact, when I was working a long time ago for another company, I was putting myself through college, where they were using dry cleaning chemicals. Now, you would open up that bottle of dry cleaning stuff, and you would immediately go into basically an asthmatic,
Right.
difficulty. That stuff was caustic, and people were sitting on it after we were done using it. And that's just something I never wanted to get back into. So I don't use anything that might cause any kind of bad reactions in anybody.
Right. You got to be very careful with litigation these days. Let
Well,
me
that too.
let me tell you a horror story. Jonathan Denwood, who I work with, he sold his dry cleaning business the right time, made a lot of money, and went high tech. And he's been 8 years now in the tech business. But in the city I came from, the city sued 20 dry cleaning companies because over the years they had been putting a solvent, and it was proven. And
Mhm.
I won't say the big company; it was one of the big five chemical companies down into our sewer system, and it was destroying the concrete sewer system piping system.
Yeah.
Literally a lot of money. So they went after those 20. What a heartbreak for those small businesses.
Well,
Plus,
it's bad for them. It's bad for business, but it's also bad for the community. Obviously, it was destroying their sewer system. But if you think that that's what that was doing to the sewer system, what do you think it was doing further on down the line?
you know what? Let me tell the rest of the story though on that.
Oh, I'm
So,
sorry.
and,
Go
and
ahead.
it definitely down the line, wherever it ends up that sewer, it basically goes into the ponds. I know how the system works out there. It goes into ponds.
Mhm.
They purify the water and they pump it out into the fields, and the cows come into the fields.
That's right.
That's exactly what they do. We also have green waste. The town was Modesto,
Mm.
but there's more to the story. I think we shouldn't have sued all those 20 folks unless it was truly intentional. But we should have gone hard and heavy after the chemical company. But by suing them, they turned around and had to sue the chemical company to try to get back some of the money. Just think of people don't understand how hard it is for a small business to go through that kind of litigation.
That's true.
I mean, hang in there. Make sure you're well protected. Make sure you cover all your everything, and just make sure you have insurance packet. Now you've had to buy insurance too, right?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely. If you don't get insurance, I don't want to have. Typically,
You
I'm going
want
to go over to somebody's house, and almost, 9 times out of 10, they're going to have their Hummel figurines all stacked up on this rickety glass shelf, and I'm going to
ooh.
have to move it. Yeah, I don't know.
That
Yeah,
sounds like expensive insurance if you break
yeah.
up.
Well, I've got $1 million insurance just in case I bump the grandma's Ming vase. Let's put it that way.
Oh, I won't go into deductible. That's another thing you got to think about.
Yeah.
Well, we're sort of coming to the end of the first part of the See, it went pretty fast. You were worried about not even having enough information, but you've got a lot of stuff to talk about, a lot of advice, and we'll get to that later. But now we're going to talk to the bottom line upfront questions. These are some of my favorite questions.
Go for it.
Do you use a Mac or PC?
I use a PC. Ah.
It's probably a Dell too, isn't it?
It is a Dell. Yes, it is. Well, what are you
Why,
gonna do?
why do you use a PC?
Well, I have respect for Apple. For all you Appleites out there, I understand, and I've used Apple products before, but you have to, from what I've seen, use a lot of Apple products, and
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of Apple products, and so PC seems to be a lot of different things, and Google's doing pretty good with what they're doing, so it was just the right move to make
Okay, very
for
good.
me.
And before we talk about the smartphone, I want to talk about the studio today. You're in Studio B, I'm in Studio A.
That's right.
We're actually in different bedrooms, and we're tagging the system. We're both wireless.
Mhm.
You're using my MacBook Pro, and I've got my iMac in the other room set up in my mini little studio. So it's doing pretty well, but we just had a little bleep in the internet. It's all based on the quality of the internet and the Wi-Fi moving out. So I always got to remind my daughters of the evening if I'm working not to stream too much.
That's got to be hard.
Yeah, they stream. Actually, it does pretty darn well, and I really should have this hooked up to a hard line, but I don't. Hey, so driving on, we do talk about what kind of phone do you have.
I've got an LG G2, and that has been invaluable
That's a
for my
Galaxy.
work. Yes, right. And I run my point of sale system through it. I run all of my phone calls, my emails, and I tag all of my my website things through it. So it's really kind of a mobile office.
Okay, so that leads me to the next question. What is your favorite app or technology?
Gosh. Well, as far as technology, I use, of course, I use my smartphone and my point of sale system. But my scheduling is through the basic LG package. Um, honestly,
Sounds like it's your smartphone.
yeah, it's basically my smartphone.
You
Yeah,
know what? Because of that smartphone, it's going to allow you to market more, be out in the field, and do your work and market at the same time in between.
absolutely. And I'm always checking it. The thing that this can do for me is that even if I'm dead at work, I can stop, walk away, take a phone call, and field questions for any of my clients or anything like that,
Mhm.
uh, right then and easily.
You
I'm
know,
always in touch.
Stepping back a little bit, we talked a little bit about before the show about how you can expand your business in the next step. And your next step was to hire an assistant, but to
Mm.
be there with the assistant to train the assistant.
That's right.
Let's
And
talk
that's
about that
something
for a second.
that's
Go
something
ahead.
that my father did too. I was probably his actually no, I was not his first assistant. He hired out to other people first, so he had experience. And then he hired me and I was treated just like anybody else. In fact, I got fired once for not coming in on time. Yes, that's right. The first time I ever got fired was by my dad. So it was a good lesson. Um, but yeah, I would really like to hire somebody. I'd really like to hire somebody who was personable, something I won't have to do as much. Somebody who's knowledgeable and somebody who's willing to do the hard work. Because finding people who are willing to do all three of those things, that's hard to do.
Hey, Mark, you're very personal. You're very easy to like.
Well, hopefully
Very,
so.
very easy to like. So, that's a good point. All your technology is allowing you to do your work to build your business. I'm going to talk about one little marketing concept that people might want to use, whether it's this business or a painting business or similar business. First of all, I'm a big believer that there's a lot of money to be made in what you're doing and in all the different businesses, whether it's a painting company or wherever it might be. Toby Delgado, who I know from podcasting, I'm doing general contracting, building subdivisions. He goes out and starts a small little mitigation company for storm drain water. He makes $2 million profit in a year, hires 58 people because no one else is doing it,
Hmm.
and gets the big developers. That's pretty basic. I mean, it doesn't take long to learn how to do mitigation and storm
Well, that's
drainage.
true. It doesn't always have to be high tech. You're absolutely right. My biggest problem is that I am in a swamped market when it comes to this particular industry. So I have to distinguish myself, and I really need to do that.
But you know what? I know what it's like. You're going against the big guys. Now, I'm not going to name names, but there's some really big names out there. I know what they do because we've been in the building industry for a long time. We have people go in and clean up and get the houses ready. My wife's been a broker for 20 years, always using people like yourself. The big guys sometimes use off the street labor that's not
Mhm.
well trained and sometimes criminal records. You're not saying this, I am. And I'm not, I don't want to mention any names, but I know they schedule their guys to do 10 to 12 carpets, and it makes good money for everybody. And some of these guys aren't bad, but I'd rather have somebody like you personally instead of the guy doing 10 to 12 a day.
Well, frankly, it makes a lot of money for the owners, but I used to work for companies like that, and I did not make a lot of money. I made just about minimum wage, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I would go out to work at around 6, and I would come back at around 7, and it would be a very, very, very long day.
So were you a college student at that time?
Yes.
So they're hiring college students basically to go out and do
No. I was the only college student who was there. The only reason that I showed up was because I had experience doing it, and it was going to have, they said, flexible hours. But no, I was working with a lot of ex-convicts. In fact, that's one of the reasons I left.
I'm just going to ask, what state was that in?
That was in Florida. That was where I got my degree. So, all you people in Pensacola, just be aware.
Okay, I don't go into too much detail, but no, I want somebody who has good equipment, knows what they're doing, and is actually part of the business. It's nice to have that level. And you don't get that as much in the United anymore, but when you do, I think you're going to do well. We're
Well,
going to make
hopefully.
sure you do well in Reno.
Hopefully, yeah.
So driving on, what is your favorite quote?
Okay, well, my favorite quote. Yeah, I'm going to go to Theodore Roosevelt for this. He's my favorite president. But it's hard to fail, but it's worse to never have tried to succeed.
Very good. Love Theodore Roosevelt.
Yeah,
What is my favorite too.
yeah. I mean, he's got a lot of great quotes, obviously, but that's a good one, especially for an entrepreneur.
Right. Very good. And what are your favorite book or books? A couple of them.
Okay, well, definitely. When I was in college, I read Ayn Rand's Atlas Shrugged, and that was a very powerful book, very interesting. And it really motivated me again as an entrepreneur to sort of do for myself, build for myself, and contribute, to everyone around me. But then I also read Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, 1492 to present. I would recommend that. That's a good counterpoint to Ayn Rand's
Really?
novel. Yeah, oh yeah.
I've read Ayn Rand. In fact, I read it when I was overseas. I had it in my rucksack and took it out in 15 minutes at a whack. I'd read it.
That's
Those-
perfect.
Waiting for a plane or a pickup or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
But tell us a little bit more about People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn.
Well, it's really a very interesting. When you're in school, as somebody who was obviously very into history, you only really hear one side of the story, generally the side of the winners, and we tend to downplay a lot of the other sides that went on. And so what happens is you hear about Christopher Columbus and what happened when he first came here, and it was not the story that they're going to tell kids in elementary school. In fact, it was pretty awful. He talks about was it unions? He talks about union busting. He talks about some of the magnates that at the turn of the century, and just the fallout and the history that built off of that.
It's
So
always
very
good.
interesting.
It's good to be well read and have a broad perspective. No doubt in my mind. Those are two
Absolutely.
dynamically different books.
Yeah, they really are a point and counterpoint, and I would say that you should probably read both.
And I know you lead towards being a libertarian.
I do.
Okay. So very good. So we're all finished with the bottom line upfront questions. And I want to ask a little bit about your family and background. What do you do for leisure when you're not working your business, which you're working all the time? I know
Well,
you-
yeah. I'm just about always doing something just about every day, but I like to do woodworking. I built my daughter's bunk bed, and she's very happy with it. I like to do snowboarding, which is getting more and more difficult here in Nevada.
I'm jealous. You got to go snowboarding this week, and I'm working my day off.
Well, that's what it's like when you're in.
How'd you get time to go snowboarding?
Well, I just sort of make time.
Where'd you
Honestly.
go?
I went to Heavenly.
Oh,
and,
nice.
yeah, it was pretty good.
Nice. A good snow. It snowed all weekend, didn't it? A lot of powder?
It's a little slushy powder.
Oh, really?
But I'm teaching my daughter how to ski. I'm of course a snowboarder, so that's very problematic.
Yeah.
But she's learning really great, and she likes to go fast. As she says, "I like to go fast, Dad." I'm like,
6 years
"Great, not
old?
too fast." Yeah, 6 years old, and she's already flying down the hill.
Yeah, it's the way
So,
to start. You know what? You tumble when you're 6 and you just keep on getting up and going again.
yeah, she seems to. You know,
Yeah, very good. So we got your contact information. What's the easiest way to contact you?
honestly, phone or by email is perfect, and I think both of those will be provided if I'm not
Okay.
mistaken.
Your Twitter is Mark Jolly.
That's correct.
I love Twitter. Your Facebook, hopefully it'll be facebook.com/Mark Jolly.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
We're
Yeah.
working on that. We're checking that.
We're working on that.
You know,
I am not big on social media, but I've had to learn.
yeah, you're not in the gold packet for the websites and all that, but we're working a little bit of social media stuff. And the website, of course, you've already got a great website.
No, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sterlingcarpet.com. Sterlingcarpet.com. So you can go to Timelines of Success.
That's
Excuse me.
sterlingcarpetreno.com.
SterlingCarpetReno.com. And you
There
can
you
go
go.
to Timelines of Success and you'll find episode 96, all these links. But you can also go to New Media Gold and you'll get the summary there. We have both places now. And finally, this is a really important question. For the listener out there, what is the one takeaway from this interview that you would give to them for advice?
Uh, as an entrepreneur, you have to be a self-starter, work all the time.
Oh, you couldn't say it better. Or you better not be an entrepreneur. You better not work for yourself. If you don't have that attitude and don't understand that, it's not the 4-hour work week, but the 4-hour work week's not about Tim Ferriss's 4-hour work week. That's not about working 4 hours a week. It's about working more efficient.
That's
But
right.
You said it well.
Thank you.
So we always ask a crazy question and we'll be done.
Okay.
What's your favorite? It's not really crazy. What's your favorite food?
I'm on a diet right now, so every food.
Oh, you
I
look
don't-
good. You're not in
Oh,
bad
thank you.
shape. You're in great shape.
Well, the work really does help, but
Yeah.
every food. I don't know. If I was to sit down and probably have one thing, I guess filet mignon with
Ooh.
some lobster tail. Yes,
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Any favorite place in town?
Beaujolais is great.
Oh, Beaujolais. I haven't
Or-
gone there. I've heard a lot about it.
Or if you're gonna do steak, Harris Steakhouse is pretty good.
Harris number one.
Yeah, it's
They're
great.
rated number one in the whole area. Yeah,
It really is.
Yeah, very good. That's
It's
the
got an
casino.
old school look to it. It looks like Frank Sinatra and the crew would walk in any minute. Yeah, it's good.
Very good. Well, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Great
Thank you.
job. The carpet looks good. The interview
you.
looks good. We did it up in Studio B. So take care. And this will be up on episode. I guess it'll be up Friday. And,
Great.
one last thing. You did buy a packet. You were one of my clients is beta clients is the Republican Men's Club,
Mhm.
and you bought a pocket to sponsor them. So
That's
we appreciate it very much, and you'll be the first true sponsor packet, so people can see what it looks like. And
Cool.
a little commercial for them. It's republicanmensclub.org, and I've tried to get them to establish a new organization. It's more broad, but we're working on that too. It's called the Nevada. Anyway, another broader based organization about government that's a little bit more inclusive of different organizations and people. But I'm just talking now. This is like Babel.
It sounds great.
I might
Let's-
take this off at the end of the podcast,
Very good.
but we don't cut the YouTube feed, which we're doing now. And finally, tap technology. If you're watching this on your iPhone, you can tap the iPhone, and up will come our YouTube unedited version of this podcast.
Great.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you very much.
Take care.